We've been talking about converting units. We need to talk about what happens when units are raised to a power. So what do you do when you have square inches and you need to go to square centimeters? Or you've got millimeters to the third power and you need to go to feet to the third power or something like that. When we're converting quantities where the unit is raised to a power, the conversion factor must also be raised to that same power. You use the same conversion factor, but you have to square it or cube it, whatever is being done to the units. So what does that look like? Well, if we have cubic inches and cubic centimeters, and we're trying to convert to cubic inches, we can use the same conversion factor that we used for centimeters to inches. 1 inch is 2.54 centimeters. But we need to cube it. That's a really ugly 3. 3. And then this needs to be cubed. The whole quantity is cubed. The number gets cubed and the unit gets cubed. The number gets cubed and the unit gets cubed. Common mistake is to forget to apply the power to this number. So this ends up being 2.54 cubed cubic centimeters. What is 1 cubed? It's just 1. Equals 1 cubic inch. I always forget to pull out my calculator. Come on. It's hiding. So you need to be able to do cubes on your calculator. Some calculators have a button that allow you to do that. If you can't find your button or it doesn't have that button, you can just take 2.54 times 2.54 times 2.54 and get the same thing. So that comes out to 16.387064. 16.387064. Now, do you need to use all of those? For this example, you probably should, because 2.54 centimeters to 1 inch was exact. And so best not to round things off. But the important thing is that you get that it's 16 cubic inches. It's not 2.54. I think we've got another example coming up. Any questions right now? Well, yeah, significant figures. This is an exact conversion, 2.54 to 1. And so then this, we really need to include all the digits that the calculator shows. The best thing to do is to actually not write all this out, but to use 2.54 cubed and do that as part of the calculation. So hopefully that'll become a little clearer in an example. Here's an example for the guys. An automobile engine has a displacement, which is the measure of the size of the engine, of 289.7 cubic inches. What is the displacement in cubic centimeters? So this is the size of the engine that they had in the old Mustangs, like my 66 Mustang GT, has a 289 V8. It was 289 cubic inches, right? It's red. It looks like a pile of junk, unfortunately. But anyway, 289.7 cubic inches. What's the displacement in cubic centimeters? So we take these numbers and we look at the units, and so we've got cubic inches, and we're trying to get to cubic centimeters. We identify where are we trying to go, and then we figure out how to get from point A to point B. So when you have cubed units, initially ignore the cube, because it gets confusing. You look in conversion tables and you're not finding it. Just look at inches to centimeters. Do we know a relationship between inches and centimeters? Yes, we do. So that means that we can do this in one step using that relationship, which is that 1 inch equals 2.54 centimeters. Now we have the information we need. So we're going to start with 289.7 cubic inches. We've got one conversion factor here. We're going cubic inches to cubic centimeters. So here we've got cubic inches and we need to go to cubic centimeters. And we want to put cubic inches down here so the units cancel out. Our relationship here doesn't have cubic inches and cubic centimeters in it. So we need to cube it. We need to cube that side, and we need to cube this side. So I'll rewrite that over here on the side. This is exactly what I did on the previous slide. 1 cubed is just 1, right? Because 1 times 1 times 1, you could do that all day long, it's still just 1. So 1 cubic inch is 2.54 cubed centimeters cubed. So this is the number that goes with the centimeters. It's 2.54 cubed. So on your calculator, 289.7 times 2.54, I lost my button, cubed equals, I'm getting 4747.33 blah 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 units cubic centimeters. Another way to enter it in, 289.7 times 2.54 times 2.54 times 2.54. Same answer. 2.54 cubed. Okay? That means that you have to multiply by this number 3 times. Did you come up with this 4747 number? How many significant figures should it have? 4. Yes. Our initial number, 289.7 cubic inches, has 4 significant figures. This one is tricky. It looks like it has 3. But it is a defined quantity. It's one of the unusual unit conversions between English and metric that is exact. I will not try to trick you with this one on an exam. There are things where I will try to trick you, but I will tell you in class, I'm going to try to trick you on this. This is not one of them. So I may accidentally trick you, but I won't do it on purpose. That's the best I can do. So this should have 4 significant figures. So we'll record this as 4747 cubic inches. Because we're going to drop this 3, it's less than 5, and so we round down. Any questions? Yes?
For this equation, you learn how to use the 10 to the 2 cubed? Times it? Like
10 to the 2 cubed? If you were doing centimeters to meters, but this is inches. So we need the 2.54 cubed. Okay? It works the same way with metric prefixes. You would, if it's cubed, you cube it, the number. If it's squared, you square the number. And you had a question?
I figured it out.
Oh, okay. Awesome. I love questions that answer themselves. Any other questions? This is one of those things that you just kind of have to do it and realize, oh, wait a minute, and then ask some questions, and then it becomes clearer.
So since 2.54 is, like you said, the metric system, or it's an exact, so that won't count as Sig Figs, so we just go with the other one?
Yeah, for this one, because this is an exact conversion, we don't even have to look at it. It's infinite number of significant figures. So that's always going to be larger than the other ones. So we just look at the answer. Now I'm going to tell you kind of a hack for Sig Figs. Because significant figures are important, but what's more important to me than you getting your Sig Figs exactly right is that you have a concept that not all the numbers your calculator gives you are meaningful. It often gives you a lot of decimal places that really don't mean anything. So on the first exam, there are questions that are specifically aimed at correct number of significant figures. The rest of the class, I want you to be close, okay? I won't try to trip you up on Sig Figs on questions about other things. I want you to get close. So what can you do to just get close? Well, most of the time, if you look at the numbers that are provided, that are given in the problem, those are usually the ones that limit the Sig Figs in the answer, not the conversion factors. Usually they give you 3. This time they gave us 4. But it usually ends up being 3 Sig Figs. The worksheet we did in lab was very picky about significant figures. And the Friday people will find that out tomorrow. We're doing it right now in chapter 2. After this, I want you to be close. If it's supposed to have 3 and you write down 4, I'll let that slide. But you do try to get it straight in this chapter. And then just do your best the rest of the semester. Okay? Let's do another example here. Oops. How many cubic inches are there in 3.25 cubic yards? Well, what is the unit that's given that we're starting with? Yards cubed. And what do they want us to find?
Inches.
Inches cubed. So now we have to ask ourselves, well, how do we get from one to the other? Ignore the cube at first. How do we get from yards to inches? Can we go there directly?
No, inches to feet to yards.
We go inches to feet to yards. So we'll put feet in the middle here. And that would need to be cubic feet. Okay? So there's our path. We know that 1 yard equals 3 feet. We know that 1 foot equals 12 inches. Are those exact conversions? Yes, they are. They are within the metric system. No, they're within the English system. It's been a long weekend. It's only Thursday. Those are exact because they're within the English system. So now let's start here. 3.25 cubic yards, 2 arrows, 2 conversion factors. Put the units in first. Cubic yards to cubic feet to cubic inches. Cubic yards to cubic feet to cubic inches. And then I put the previous unit in the denominator, in the bottom, so they cancel out. The feet cubed goes down there so they cancel out. That's what dimensional analysis does. You deal with the units, and then those guide you on what to do with the numbers. So let's look at feet to cubic yards. This relationship is 1 yard equals 3 feet. What we're looking for here is cubic feet and cubic yards. It's this relationship, but it has to be cubed. 1 cubed is still 1. What's 3 cubed? 27. So maybe you can't do that in your head. Okay, that's fine. Write down 3 cubed and let your calculator take care of it. So do you see what I did there? All of the units are cubed. The number has to be cubed also. If it bothers you that the 1 isn't cubed, go ahead and cube it. It's not going to change anything. Over here, 12 inches is 1 foot, so cubic inches, it needs to be 12 cubed inches cubed per 1 cubed feet cubed. So this is the write everything out, follow all the directions, don't take any shortcuts method. Some shortcut methods might be to get rid of those 3's. Now 3 cubed, my brain immediately says 9, but that's 3 squared. Might as well let your calculator do that and avoid getting errors due to brain farts, okay? So now, how do we punch this in on the calculator? Well, if you have a button on your calculator that allows you to do cubes, you've got 3.25. Now, is that number cubed? No. No, it isn't. The unit is cubed. There's another common mistake I just remembered. Sometimes people, when they see cubic units, they want to cube all the numbers. No, just the ones in these conversion factors, because if you need to get cubic feet, you have to cube the whole thing. But do not cube the number that you're starting with. Don't do that. So 3.25 times 3 cubed, if you wish, divided by 1 cubed, times 12 cubed, divided by 1 cubed, if you want, equals. Or 3.25 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 12 times 12 times 12 equals. So this is 151,632 cubic inches. Does that number seem kind of big? It is a big number. But if you think about something that's 3 cubic yards, that's going to be a lot of cubic inches. When you cube things, they get big really fast. So that is actually a reasonable number. Did anybody else get that number on their calculators? Good. Then I don't have to punch it in twice. What about Sig Figs? Should have 3, right? These conversions are all exact, but what we started with isn't. That has 3 significant figures, so this has 3 significant figures. So I want to keep the first 3. This is where you have to be careful. And I talked to a lot of the Monday, Wednesday people about this when they were working on the worksheet. When you're rounding off a number, look at the place that is in. This is the ones place, the tens place, the hundreds place, the thousands place. If you are rounding off anything higher than the ones place, be very careful. We do not want to change 151,632 into 152, right? I'll arrange some business deals where you'll sell me stuff and I'll buy it from you, and your house is, you're asking $152,000 for it, and we'll just round it off to $152 and I'll buy it from you. Would that be okay with you? No, that's not okay. And when we round numbers, it's not okay either. So what do? I recommend putting a number into scientific notation and then rounding it. If you're rounding anything larger than the ones place, put it in scientific notation first. So what's that going to look like? This is going to be 1 point. The decimal point always goes after the first non-zero digit. So 1.51632 times 10 to the something. Well, the decimal point was originally right here, even though it wasn't written. 1, 2, 3, 4 places. So this needs to be a 4. Then we have to decide, is it positive or negative? We look at the original number. Is that a big number or a small number? It's a, so I can't count? 1, 2, 3, yeah. Well, yeah, thank you. I'd like to say I did that on purpose to see if you're paying attention, but that's not true. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 1 for the class, 1 point for the class. 5. 151,632. Big number, small number? Big number. How do I feel about big paychecks? Positive. So the exponent's positive. When it's a small number, I have negative feelings about small paychecks, and I've gotten some small ones, and those have the negative exponents. So here's our number in scientific notation. This is review. Now we want to round it to 3 significant figures. We want it to stop there. Now we don't have to worry that we're going to change the value or that we'll have to put in some placeholding zeros or anything. We can look at the first digit that we're going to get rid of, the 6. That tells us we need to round the 1 up to a 2, and our answer is 1.52 times 10 to the 5th. And I got sloppy and didn't write my units up here. Units are part of the answer. You've got to include the units. Any questions about that mess?
Is that -3? No, it's just 3, right? You put an I on it.
Yeah, there's a dot on the I.
Okay. Oh, sure.
For the Sig Figs, yeah. Not an exact number. It's a measurement. So when they just hand you a number, if it's an obvious counting number, like 7 pencils, that would be exact. If it's a relationship that's defined like this, 1 foot equals 12 inches, it's exact. But if it's just some number with a unit like yard or gram or liter or something, it's a measurement and it's not exact. Any other questions?